5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're on air. That was like perfectly accurate. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Playing in Traffic podcast, where we talk about the WMSCOG and all of our crazy experiences, and we share them together. Today, we're talking with Sarah, and thank you so much, Sarah, for coming on today. Hi.
Hi, I'm Sarah.
Hi, Sarah. Thanks for coming. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So, Sarah, you were baptized 2015, right, in New
Yes,
York?
yes,
And you left in 2018. So that's
yes,
pretty recent.
yeah.
Pretty recent coming out. So tell us, how did you find out about the WMSCOG? Where were you in your life when you got baptized?
Can I curse? Because I'm in a
Yeah,
really
please.
shitty situation.
Yeah.
So, I guess before I ended up there, my mom, we didn't really have like a good relationship, due to like mental illnesses, me not getting it, an 18-year-old not gonna get it, of course. And then also I recently left for my dad's house and then went to my mom's house. So it was like a really, really hard time for me emotionally and also physically too.
So you
Um,
said you're 18 at the time?
yeah, I was 18. I just recently turned 18.
Okay.
Yeah. So then I actually wanted to go to college upstate. And due to wanting to go to college upstate, I wanted to see like what I need to do, like financial aid wise. And then my aunt told me that her niece, through her boyfriend, she works in financial aid, so she could give me some tips. Well, she was in the church.
No.
So she, yes. So she gave me pointers, which is awesome. And then she told me, hey, you're not in this situation like you were telling me about, and this place could help you out, like emotionally. And I was like, no, let me cut you right there. No. So she tried to like, she sent me messages a couple of times, and I kept saying no. And due to her bothering me so much, I wanted to be this nice person, and I wanted to say her to F off, but I'm just really nice, I guess. And I told her, okay, I'll give it a try. And then if I don't like it, please just stop talking to me about the church. Just to give you a background, my mom was actually Seventh-day Adventist. My dad was Catholic. Well, he's Catholic. So, but due to the difference of religion, they did not raise me in any type of religion. They raised me as agnostic. I got baptized the same day I went to the church,
You
actually.
got
Yeah,
baptized immediately.
yeah, immediately,
So
actually.
so you went to it sort of skeptical. Not skeptical, but like, fine, I'll go just to be nice. But then when you went, were you really like, okay, this is cool?
Yeah, because I guess now that I'm out, they knew the questions I had, and that's why they did the study that they did, which is like, what is it, the forgiveness of sins. I I now forget the whole name. It's so long. But first study, the forgiveness of sins, whatever. And they did that study. I guess it was targeted because I always wonder more beyond than this earth and why we're here. I always had that question. Even since I was a kid, like I would tell my dad, like, why we're here. He's like, because of God. I'm like, why? And I kept saying, why? And never got an answer. So I did tell her I always wondered that, and I guess no, they targeted the with that um study, and I guess it shocked me in a way, and I just said, F it, I'll go. And then I kept going. At the beginning, I guess I was intrigued to know more what they think, and the teachings that they have. Because so to put it briefly, like I'm a history major, but I specialize in religion and ancient society. That's my specialization. If I do a master's, that's going to be that. And I guess I'm always intrigued to know more information about human beings and beyond and this earth and so on.
Yeah.
So,
That's good that curiosity is still with you after your experience with the WMSCOG.
oh, it really fuels me even more
Yeah.
to want to know more.
What did your parents think?
So my mom, I'm making that face because it was like, so my mom is as Hispanic as it can be. So when I'm saying that is in the sense of like, who the heck do you think you are by coming home at 12 at night? This is my house. This is my rules. And if you want to go do your own thing, you can get out of my house and do your own thing. So that's what happened that whole month. So I had to lie a couple of times and say I was like going out with friends and stuff. That was the only way. And there was a couple of times I did tell her, "Hey, I'm going to a church. I'm not doing anything wrong." And she, I guess she was still skeptical about it because who goes to a church at 11 at night? You know, so she thought I was going out with like a boyfriend or something. And then I was lying to her, which would make sense as a mom. It would make sense, you know.
Yeah, who
It
would
would,
expect, okay, sure, daughter, you're going out to church at midnight. But you were.
yes.
You were.
So she was shocked when she actually was like, "Oh, you really are," out of all
Wow.
places. So I guess with that month, she was more skeptical and scared because also New York City is not that safe to be going out on the train. There's a lot of crazy people, things happen after a certain hour. I guess she was scared for that. And then she went with me just to see. She looked around and you could see her face of like, mm-hmm. Just everything they were telling her, like she just kept saying, uh-huh, okay. She did do a study one time when she did get baptized about like the Seventh-day Adventist and on San Hong, and that's when it clicked, and she's like, okay, I'm out of here.
So she got baptized.
Yeah, she did get baptized.
Wow.
Ooh,
And she
okay,
wanted
hold on.
to,
We
huh?
got to go back to this.
Going
Okay.
back.
How long before she went the first time with you to her studying and being baptized?
It took 2 years to
Okay.
get to that point. Yeah, it took 2 years to get to that point. But the first year, I kept going. She just told me, like, you can go whatever you want. After she went, she said, you can go whatever you want. You can believe whatever you want. I really don't mind that. As long as you don't come home at 11 at night, 12 a.m. As long as you do that, I'm okay with it. Like, whatever you want to do.
You
Yeah.
were able to do that. The church kind of allowed. You said, "Okay, my mom said I got to be home before 2 a.m."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. For a while. Let's just say that. They let me like roll back a bit for a while until now that I'm out, I see that they did that to kind of like woo me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did that for like, I guess like 6 months to I came home at 11 or like 10:30. That was like my curfew, and I kept doing that for a while. And then I started pushing boundaries again to try to stay until 11 at night. So it was like a slow back to get to that point, and that's where a lot of problems rose again. Yeah, after like a year and a half in, then she said, let's try it out again and see what they have to say. And then that's when she started doing studies. And then also my aunt around that time also came too. And she was like, they literally got baptized around the same time.
Wow. Do you feel like they did a lot of love bombing to them?
They didn't, they thought it was like fake as heck.
Why do you think they got baptized? Do you think that they believed?
For me,
Yeah.
they told me after when I was out, like my aunt told me though. My mom, she did tell me that she got baptized just for me to kind of keep the peace
Wow.
in
They love
between.
you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, just to keep the peace. That's what they did.
Were you happy when she was baptized? Were you like, thanks to Father and Mother, all my dreams have come true, all my prayers are answered? Is that what it was like? Or did
No,
you kind of know she was doing it for you?
I knew it. I knew she was doing it for me. I felt. I guess. Let me put it this way: like when she got baptized, that's when a lot of questions started rising to me, but I just didn't gave it too much mind, I guess. So that's, I guess I didn't feel like too happy about it. I was like a little relieved because, the pastor and all of that. Like, I was like, okay, at least she's going to heaven because she's taking the Passover. And so, in some ways, it's a win-win, I guess. So I guess a little relieved, but not necessarily happy per se. I was a little iffy about it, but I
Hmm.
didn't know why. I thought it was just like I was being weird about it. I thought I was just like a teenager, like, my mom is gonna embarrass me type
Hmm.
of thing. But I think it was something more, I guess. I guess my feeling was I already knew there was something weird about the church, and in some ways, I wanted to protect my mom because I knew she had some mental illnesses and she could be triggered at any moment because of anything, and that's literally what happened. I'm
Okay.
worried about how they're gonna react to her, how everything's gonna do. Like, is she gonna do something? Because my mom was very aggressive, and
Well, it's
so
a very controlled environment. It's very, everybody's in uniform doing the same thing. So I can imagine you'd be anxious if, like, your mom were to do something different because it's scary
yeah.
when you're in that social situation to be different.
Basically, I mean, my mom, she suffered from very severe bipolar disorder and paranoia and schizophrenia as well. So that environment's not good for somebody that
No,
suffers from that. It's like the
absolutely.
opposite of good. It's
Mm.
We've
like
talked about that
bigger
before.
than steroids.
Yeah, we've talked about that before, how like just a little bit of mental illness or like instability and like that doctrine is really dangerous.
Yeah, like I suffer from a general anxiety disorder, so I get really triggered really easily. And while I was there, like I was in my worst type of environment, like feelings. Like I, just to put it, a lot of triggers when you get in, like triggers from anxiety disorder, you tend to bite your nails and you tend to have a lot of scratches. I have scratches all over my body, and my nails were like literally thin. Like right now they're good, but they were like short, short while I was there, just because I was biting my nails a lot. So they really like made it worse, my whole situation of having anxiety. I honestly like, I feel like they do say like, oh, it goes away, and it's all about like believing, and you just need to believe in father and mother. That's bullcrap, like complete bullshit. If I'm being honest, like it doesn't help. It doesn't help. The fakeness, the toxic positivity is like, dude, the toxic positivity doesn't help anybody at all.
You know those churches where they deny medication to people who have like cancer or something because they want to pray. But what about churches like this who deny, their mental health care? Like, I never once heard anybody tell you to go to therapy there or like get at, like see a doctor for your anxiety. Nobody would ever say that. Like, anxiety would be a sin. That is way sinful, right? Don't you
Y-
think?
Yeah, and
Mhm.
I remember talking to the missionary who's now an elder. I won't drop names, but I'm still salty about that he knows about this whole situation is like really annoying. But anyways, I told him my worries about my mom being in that environment. I told him, is there any way that we can transfer her here? Because I would rather her being close to me. That way I know that she's good and she feels closer to me. Like that way we're good. He's like, no, she needs to do it by herself. She needs to do the whole thing by herself. And I told him, like, she has very severe mental illnesses. It's very triggering. And my mom has been depending on me since I was 13 years old. You can't change that. Like, she needs to be with me. And I love my mom and all, but like, we had a really hard, I had a really hard childhood, and she really depended on me as being a single mom. So you can't expect her to do well by herself in the church. that she doesn't know anybody there. And it basically backfired. But the thing is that he said that, oh, we don't tell our members to not drink their medicine. We don't tell them to not go to their therapies. Actually, we encourage them to go. And when I was sitting there, I thought to myself, I'm like, that's bull crap. And then I said to myself, I'm like, why am I thinking this? Like, I literally corrected myself at that moment. I said, you shouldn't be thinking those things. That's not okay to think like that. Like, he's not lying to you. And yeah, they basically made her feel like she was crazy. And that's like the worst thing you can do to somebody that has mental illness, especially bipolar. Like, you shouldn't do that. You really shouldn't. Yeah.
So how long after she was baptized before you started seeing like a negative effect on her mental health?
A month.
A month. Wow.
Yeah,
That's
a month.
quick.
It was really that quick.
Wow.
So the first 2 weeks she was really hyped. She was really good. Like, people were really nice to her. Everybody was good. And then after she started doing the studies about what was it? I think Ansahon, those studies. That's when she started questioning. She's like, I don't know about this. Like, doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I get the fact of being fallen angels. I always believed that, but then you're telling me that this second coming of Christ, man, is the one. And then she said, where are his books? Where does it say this? Where is it? Everything that he's saying, I want to see it. And then she went to the internet. And then I said to one of the sisters that's taking care of her that she went to the internet. And then that was the last straw, because then they set everybody down. And they did the video of you going to the internet, and it was targeted to her, and she knew it was targeted to her. And with the paranoia that she has, she started just throwing F-bombs everywhere, and it was really bad. Like,
so
I
she
needed
actually
to leave.
reacted when she was watching it
Yeah, pretty much.
in
She
front of all the members.
reacted.
Yeah.
Yeah, in front of all of them. She just told them, like, you guys don't care about anybody. You don't care about me. You just care about my money. And I think you're just lying to me. You're trying to manipulate me. This is not okay. And they try to, instead of trying to calming her down, they try to make it seem like she's crazy and just delusional. And that's just, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that at that moment.
She
Yeah.
sounds amazing. She sounds like she knew
Yeah.
exactly what she was talking about.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
So then, did they kick her out of the church after that?
No, they just, I guess because of, they didn't kick her out. She left. She just said, I'm leaving. But she didn't make like a huge scene in front of everybody. It was like mainly in the group she was in that she made like a small scene. Like, my mom is not about like making a huge scene, but she was, I guess she was intense is what I should say. She was intense. And that's where she started like cursing and stuff. So, but she left, and then she actually came back like 3 months after, trying to make amends. And then she left a week after. I guess she said, let me try it one more time. I think the third should be a charm. And the third was a charm to leave. That was it, to leave.
Wow.
And she left.
Did all of this make you start thinking, maybe my mom is onto something? Maybe I should look into what she's saying?
Not necessarily. Actually, when she did leave, we actually got into a huge fight that I stopped talking to my mom for those couple months before she came back. And then, because she stole from me, she took my money. I was like, I guess she was trying to teach me a lesson. She gave my money back, but the fact that she broke that trust, it was like crazy to me. But she said to me that she was trying to teach me a lesson of the fact that that's what they're trying to do to you. They're trying to steal from you and think that they're breaking your trust the same way that I did to you. In her own way, she tried to teach me a lesson. It wasn't the greatest thing to do, but in her own way, she was just trying to get my attention.
Right.
But I left the house and went to my aunt's house and stayed there for a couple months. And during that time, I was very involved in the church.
Was your aunt still in the church at this time?
No, she got baptized, and within the same time she got baptized as my mom. They only had like a 2 weeks difference when they got baptized. When she got baptized, she left a week after. So she was just like, I'm not about the life of like following orders. So she just left. And that's it.
Smart lady.
Do you
Yeah.
feel like when your mom freaked out that because you'd spent your childhood like guiding your mom through her like ups and downs emotionally, do you think that maybe that like solidified a little bit more of the church doctrine for you? Like, did you feel more like the church is the place for me because my mom is rejecting it, but she's always kind of done that? Do you think?
Yeah, I guess the church brought more stability, and that's why I wanted to be there more
Yeah.
than anything, because of stability than anything else. Because, love wasn't there. A good environment of talking and stuff like that wasn't there. So I guess it's just stability, because I didn't really have stability growing up.
Yeah. And it's like that structure. I could see like if you
Yeah.
had a chaotic childhood, wanting to like find the group that has this like structure and this format that's easy to follow.
Yeah, like just I guess it's just the structure that I was looking for. Like I was yearning for structure, and just like during that time I was more involved. I really wanted to be in it, and I really tried my hardest to believe into like God the Mother. Like I really had a problem with her. Like literally the thought of having a God the Mother, like even though I'm such a free thinker and just having multiple gods, it's fine. But it's just her. It's always since the beginning, I always was like, I don't know, man. Like it's just something not sitting right with me. And I even told the sister, I was like, I just don't get it.
Like her as a person?
Yeah, like just the fact of coming and I don't know, it's
Like just her being like a human on the earth that is God.
not even that. It's just the way that they explained it. It just didn't sit right. Like something there since the beginning, something wasn't sitting right. And as much as I put my finger on it, I just couldn't put it.
Isn't
And
it
I kept
strange
saying
how
it.
we have those little nagging things that stay with us, but we just ignore them?
Yeah.
Like you're
I'm gonna try not to ignore my instincts and my intuition anymore, because that kind of got me in trouble.
I even nowadays I drive and I'm like, oh, I'll listen to my gut. I need to go this way. I listen to my gut when it's telling me to go a certain way. Yeah, and then I come back home. Yeah, I come back home, try to make peace with her. The main thing why I came back home is she got pregnant, and I was like, I was feeling bad.
Okay.
And I came back, she was pregnant, and I really wanted to help her out and whatever I needed. Did we have a greatest relationship? No, but we try to, at least after that fallout and having that space, we are like, you know what, let's just at least agree to disagree. The first time, I guess, when I started doubting, was my history class. So I did a history class, right? And then we're talking about Greece. Out of all places, we're talking about ancient Greece and how Greece was dissolved after Alexander the Great. Mind you, I did what is it? The Davis prophecy 3 days before. And so the teacher told us how after Alexander the Great, actually, the kingdom was dissolved by 10 kingdoms, not three right after it. I was like, huh, interesting.
immediately, did you feel like your teacher had it wrong, or were you like the church had it wrong?
I asked the teacher, actually, I went on the teacher. I was like, so did the degrees actually break up into three kingdoms right after, or is it like they broke up in 10 and then like a week after there was like three generals after that? He's like, no, actually it was like 100 years after. I was like, oh, whoa, that's a huge difference. And then he said, where are you getting this information from? I'm like, oh, a place. And then I went back and I was like, so something I gathered from my history teacher actually, that we might be having some miscommunication, or maybe I got it wrong, or maybe I didn't listen right, or I didn't get the notes right. But can you please tell me if I'm wrong? But you said it was three kingdoms right after the Alexander the Great, and it was like 10. And the missionary just told me, you're being picky. The point is that it broke into three kingdoms. I'm like, the point is not that. The point is that it broke into 10 kingdoms, and you're telling me it was three. So which one is it? And then he kept saying, father and mother wouldn't want you to be picky. I'm like, huh, okay. And then I just left it there, and I just put it in the back burner. I did become obsessed with the evidence book. Like, I literally started looking at the evidence book. I think I looked at that evidence book maybe like 10 times because I really wanted to know where they're gathering this information. And funny enough, in the evidence book, it did not say three kingdoms. So I really don't understand how in the evidence book says one thing and then the other thing. Maybe the one that I was seeing, because they change it. So I don't know. They do tend to change a lot of stuff when it doesn't fit them. So
so evidence books are like, oh, I have one. It's like our news articles, pictures, evidence book. So it has like the Daniel prophecy, so it'll show you like the statue has all these pictures of the Pope and his hat and all that stuff. Yeah, triggering, huh?
To me, the book is like blasphemy for historians. That book is blasphemy for historians. It's like, jeez Louise, it shouldn't even exist. If you're not gonna quote right, it shouldn't exist.
So when you went through the evidence book, you found a lot of different
I
discrepancies.
found a lot of stuff, and I started asking questions, a lot of questions, and they started getting annoyed at me. Like, they started even putting me away from the sisters because I would start asking between the group meetings. I was like, look, I found this stuff right here that does not make any sense. Can you please explain it to me? Like also the Roman Empire. I'm like, dude, that's not right. It broke more than 10 kingdoms. You're forgetting about the Byzantine Empire. What is going on here?
Which is a really big one, right?
It's huge. Yeah. Like, that's a huge empire. That's a freaking big chunk of the Roman. Like, it literally.
We never heard about that in the WMSCOG ever.
Like, you got maybe 60% of the Roman Empire. You literally just see the eastern side of Roman Empire, and there's just like they just brush it over the rest of the Daniel's prophecy. They just gloss it over, and that's it. Like, I guess in a way they're just thinking, we're not gonna think about that.
I just had a realization. They don't study Daniel prophecy with a newcomer. They only study that with like people who already believe. So maybe by the time you get to that study, you're already trusting them so much, and you're already believing it that we were able to overlook all that misinformation. Maybe that is part of it.
Yes, because I remember when I did Daniel's prophecy, I did have that question in my mind, and I kept saying, like, I have a question. Like, all the studies, I always said, I have a question. And they kept saying, Sarah, we'll leave it after the study. And by doing that, I would forget about the damn question.
Yeah.
And I remember I had that question about the Eastern side, but I guess I forgot about it because obviously I'm gonna forget about it. So I forgot about it until
Wow.
years later. I kept trying to just be like, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. Like I kept saying like, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just I'm not good, and maybe it's like the devil and stuff like that. I'm like, and I would tell in my mind, I'm like, devil, F you, get the hell out of my head. Like, can you believe a church member cursing in their head? It's
I
not good.
remember cursing out the devil too, like, get out of here, devil. I think we would talk to the devil in our head. As if
I
the
think the
devil
devil
can.
was just us telling us.
Yes. Oh
It
my
was our
God.
subconscious just saying, Sarah, get out of it. Just snap out of it already.
All right.
Um,
I want to know how you got out because leaving is the hardest part.
so okay. So basically, I guess so my mom passed away in 2017. So when she passed away, it was a huge thing because I guess it was sudden. So that happened.
So your mom
And
passed away when you were still in the church.
yeah, she passed
Okay.
away when I was still in the church. And that day, the people I needed the most did not come.
Mm.
And that really like pissed me off like a lot because I needed them, and all they told me is like, we'll pray for you.
Mm.
We'll pray for you. I was telling them she's in the of surgery. I'm not sure what's happening. Even though I did feel she's not gonna come back. It's a weird feeling, but you just know. I told them I'm freaking out. She didn't take the Passover. I'm like, what is gonna happen? And they told me, well, she didn't take the Passover, therefore she took her own decision. And we can only pray right now. When I tell you I almost threw my phone at the wall, it's an understatement. I really wanted to choke somebody that day.
That's awful.
And the only person that came that I'm really grateful for is my husband, my now husband. We were just dating, literally dating like 3 weeks prior, and he came. Um, and he just sat there for me. And yeah, after that, I was really devastated. They expected me to go to church. She passed away on a Thursday. Actually, no. Yeah, she passed away on a Thursday. On Friday, they came on Friday. My group leader, she came on Friday to visit me, in quote, and see how I was doing. And they brought food. They're like, "We're really sorry. I'm really sorry for what happened to you." I'm like, "Okay, great. Yeah, okay." So they came to the hospital. They saw my sister because I have the baby sister because my mom was pregnant. You can put in the thoughts what happened. Um, and they came. They brought food. Um, they were trying to see like how I'm doing. They tried to see my sister, my baby sister, and then after that they left because they had to do the cleaning or whatever. Um, and then they said, you need to come the next day because then Satan is gonna like try to get you in this vulnerable times and whatnot. And so I came the next day on a Saturday, went to the church. I wasn't feeling too well, so I left it a little early. I did do the last service, but I didn't really stay. I just went back home and went back to the apartment we're staying in. So after that, the next couple months were really hard because we had a little baby. As you know, if you're involved, it's not really the best time to be trying to go to services when there's like a newborn, basically. And due to my mom's passing, we had to go to court, do all this thing. It was a shit show, basically. It was a shit show. And they were trying to get me to work at the same time, give tithes, the 10%. It was around 7 to 8 people for me to take care of, basically. And they wanted me to still preach, still be involved, because I was an assistant to one of the team leaders, as well, taking care of the group, taking care of my sisters, taking care of everybody. That just really broke me. The next couple of months, it was like really harsh. And I guess eventually I just said, I'm not giving my 100%. I really need to grieve my mom. Something got to give. And I think my thought at the moment, if I grieve my mom properly, I can come back and be clear. That never happened. So I never went back after I left. But many things happened throughout the year. Like, for example, I started questioning a lot of things, like the thighs. They were telling me I need to get the 10%. Money was not great at the time, and things were not doing great. The first thing that they told me, things are not doing great, is because I'm not giving my thighs. And I said, what are you talking about? Like, I can't give 10% of my paycheck if I'm just getting $500 a week and I need to feed a family of 7. And I need to get 10% and offerings and extra money. Tell me, where am I getting that money from? Because I'm not getting it from thin air. So
Sarah, when your mom died, you got custody of all your siblings? Is that what happened?
not necessarily. My aunt has custody right now.
Oh, okay.
Because I was working a lot, I couldn't go to court, so she took the custody of them. But actually, funny story, she took custody. I was not supposed to be baptizing my little sister. That happened. So I went against her. Yeah, that happened. Funny story with that, which also adds to me leaving because it was just really sneaky. The missionary at the time, he told me, like, I was telling him, I'm really scared for my sister because she's not doing the Passover and she's a baby. Like, what if something happens? Blah, 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 blah. Like, what can we do? And he said, she's your sister. So just bring her one day and then we just baptize her. Your aunt is not here. We can just do it. And I did that. I went against my aunt and my mom's wishes at the time. Crazy to even think about it.
No,
delusional.
you did, because you were told as your mom was dying that she wasn't going to heaven because she didn't celebrate Passover. So of course your thought was, save my baby sister. It makes sense.
Pretty much.
It makes sense. I mean, it doesn't make you sound crazy. It makes that missionary sound like a dick.
He's a real dick. He's a piece of work. Oh, I can say that.
Sarah, I'm so sorry. I just want to say I'm so sorry because all of that really sucks, and everything they said to you was so awful.
It's like the worst thing to say to someone in that situation. Let me think of all the things that you could possibly say that are the worst, and those are them.
Good for you for leaving, though.
It took a lot of strength. Yeah, it took a lot of strength and really self-reflection to get out of that mentality. But I think also what led to that point of me really realizing that it's I need a break was because I wasn't preaching as much. I wasn't involved as much. Like, I was really slacking. I wasn't really into it anymore on Saturdays. And one of my team leaders at the time, she told me, if you really want mother to forgive your mom, you should start preaching, start doing the things that you need to do. And that was the moment I was like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? And she said, you need to, if by your deeds, your mom can be forgiven. I'm like, that's the biggest bullshit you've ever told me.
It's like they weaponized your mom's death against you.
Yeah, they did, and
And
I
so you
didn't feel good.
recognized it right away, or did you feel what they were saying was true? Or were you just like, you're crazy? No.
I felt annoyed. I felt icky. Like I felt kind of disgusted
Yeah.
by it. Not against her because obviously like we all believe all that crap except the missionary. He knew that stuff. I'm going to hold it until the end of time. But I think the majority of people really believe in everything that they teach. So I really don't hold it against her for saying that. But I think it still doesn't get that icky feeling out of it. Like you shouldn't you shouldn't say that about like somebody's death. Like kind of weaponizing it.
Mhm.
So I think well the thing is that the aftermath from my mom's death, I think it really touched on the fact that they're just not really there for people and the whole entirety of really taking you out of like your family and whatnot. Like just her death really was like the cherry on top of really seeing like the true colors of how they are. Because I really tried to be there and it's just not it. And I guess also like the history part also made me kind of question a lot. Like throughout that year, I really questioned a lot of stuff because they really get a lot of stuff wrong. They get a lot of stuff wrong, and just being a historian is one of the things is like being analytical and questioning everything that people tell you. And I just constantly like question and we even did the study of like what was it, Moses or something or like that. I think the 12 churches we were doing that. And I started questioning so much stuff that they started getting really uncomfortable that they stopped the whole study.
Mm.
They stopped the whole study. I was like, whoa, this is just because I'm asking questions, you're gonna stop the whole
Did they
study.
rebuke you? Like, did they ever rebuke you?
They tried to,
They
but I
said you
just
were picky.
said
Yeah.
that I was just being picky. I'm like, well, I just told them I thought we were welcomed with questions. So which one is it? I said to them like, can we question or not? Like, which one is it? I'm not really sure. And that was like the year I guess I was grappling already with grief and whatnot. Like, in that year I was just not taking shit from anybody, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So I started like really just saying like, are we questioning or not? Are we trying to be analytical or not? Are we actually sure we're saying the right thing or not? Are we deceiving people or not? What is it?
Mm-hmm.
Started getting really uncomfortable, I guess.
If you were in school to be a historian and you're going to a church who's teaching like kind of loosey goosey history, like
It doesn't work.
two selves like fighting against yourself all the time, like what are we
It
doing
doesn't
here?
work.
Like history is like historically accurate information, and I'm in this
Yeah.
organization that's teaching the truth of God, this spiritual reality to us, and it's not lining up with what like is actual facts. I mean, that must have been so complicated. I could see how there's an inevitable point in your life where that had to come to a head.
Yeah, so the I guess the main thing that really pushed me on the edge is this is why I decided like, hey, I need a break, like I can't do it. It's because they kept doing for a whole month because I was coming late. I was not I guess preaching a lot. They started doing the Nepal video of how they were like, oh, something happened to them, and like the sister was still going, the brother was waking up really early to go to church, and they still made it. And the deaconess at the time, because they switched um whoever's running the location, she basically pulled me aside and said, you know, the brothers and sisters in Nepal, they're able to do it, and you should try harder. And I explained to her, you know, my sister's waking up and literally at 3 in the morning. I barely sleep. I'm barely eating. I'm barely grappling a lot. Like, I'm barely functioning. I'm still here, and that's a miracle right now. And she said, you just need to try harder. You need to pray more. And literally, when she said that, after the service, I said, I'm going to go get a coffee. That coffee extended to the train station, and that train station stop went to the train stop, and I just went home. And they started calling me, and I'm like, I can't talk right now. I don't feel well. So yeah, and after that, she gave me a call. She said, I understand your mom passed away. And then she said, I can understand losing a parent. And literally her understanding and her analogy was to her mom being a stripper. Like, because her mom left her family to become a stripper, therefore her mom left and she didn't have a mom anymore. So she had to take care of her siblings. I'm like, sorry to tell you this. And I really got really annoyed and really mad. And I said, let me cut you off. My mom passed away. It's a completely different thing. I guess that was like the last straw. And I just said, I need a break. Like, I can't, I'm sorry. I can't do this anymore. Like, I need a break. I need a vacation.
Yeah.
That vacation's been 4 years now, and it will continue.
Yes. So you never went back after that. You were done.
Well, actually, I tried to go for one service, for a Tuesday service. I was very much pregnant at the time. Everybody looked at me very bitter.
Mm.
And so I told my team leader, yeah, I'll come back. Yes, definitely. And I never came back.
You mentioned when your mom was in the hospital that your now husband came to visit. So was he a part of the church, and then did you guys leave together, or what was
No,
his?
he was never in the church.
He wasn't. Okay, so he was
Oh, he
somebody.
was very skeptical, very skeptical. Like, he kept like questioning everybody. My husband is like, if I'm analytical, he's like above that.
So that must have been really helpful for you coming out and then having somebody like that.
Yeah. I think in some ways, like, I tell this to my husband, sometimes it's really hard to even think about the cult because it's so intertwined with my mom
Yeah.
because of that key moment. I guess it's really hard to even think about like her to not go back to that moment. But I guess over time it's been healing. But the fact of them, I guess they did put like seeds of doubt when my mom got pregnant. That's around the time when I started to really like sometimes like question, because they would tell me like, she's pregnant, like that's not okay. Like, there's a demon and blah 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 blah. And I was like, why are we looking at kids like demons? First of all,
Right.
like, you see a kid on the street and you think like, ha, look at
Demon.
that. He just
Yeah.
got here. He just got here. He's not even baptized, this demon. He will suck our souls. Like, it's so sad. And the way that they treat kids, it's just so sad, to be honest.
So happy for you that now you can be out and you can raise your family, and your children the way that you want to.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's like the main thing. Like, I tell my husband all the time, I'm really glad at least I got out and my daughter's not gonna be in it.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's a good part. I guess, if you could say, a sacrificial lamb in a way of going into the cult and seeing how it works, that I can at least warn my daughter, because they really target young people. And regardless of your background, you can even have a good family. And I've heard of members that they had a good background, they had a really amazing childhood, and they still end up in the cult. So it's really an equal opportunity kind of place. So I think in a way, me going there, I can teach her like, hey, if they try to manipulate you, or these are the ways of it's a cult and you should watch out. Like you can think, for me, their belief, I really don't have a problem. Whatever they want to believe, they can believe. What you can believe in 3 gods, and I really don't care. It's just the fact of manipulating and being sucky in a way. That's the problem I have. Yeah, and I think even just relationship wise, like after I left, it took me literally 3 years, actually, yeah, last year, to really get back to my normal self of being social. Because for those 3 years, I was so scared I was gonna come across a member, because you really don't know where they're at. Like anybody can be a member, and I would ask questions to people, like students at the school, because in college. I will ask them like tricky questions just to see if they're in the cult or not, so I can dodge it and not deal with that. Because at the moment, I just did not want to talk to anybody that's from there. Now, yeah, I can definitely talk to them and just like try to F them a bit, or like trick them in a bit. Like I'm in a good space now to do that. But before, it was like a paranoia constantly of anywhere I would go. Like, is this a member? Or like, the cashier at the store, is that a member? And am I gonna get preached to? Am I gonna get triggered? Like it's a constant fear when you get out. Oh, actually, my husband encountered them today. It was so funny. Yeah, today.
What?
So he went to Midtown to meet with his friend to do cigars, right? And he's like, you know who I met? I met one of those people you went to church with. I'm like, did you tell them to F off? He's like, basically.
Wow.
And my husband is very crude. So he probably just said, just F you.
Sarah, thank you for being brave and sharing your story, because you will be helping other people who are coming out and other people who are dealing with trauma after leaving.
I think it's also good to, for those who are leaving, treat it as grief. I think that's the way it would really help me, because you're grieving. You're technically grieving. You're grieving the time that you lost. I mean, you're not getting 10 years out of back, or 4 years. Like I literally took 4 years and just threw it in the garbage, basically. You're not really getting that back. So just like grieve, and that's a way of healing, just grieving it.
Thank you, Sarah. It was so nice to meet you.
Boom, baby.
Okay.
Like that.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.